Hey friends, I'm back with another owl. I'm going to make this one patriotic. I am painting it with some Dixie Belle Bunker Hill blue. My paint was a little thick, so I was spritzing it with water, and that helps to thin it down. So after I was done with that, I set it to the side, and I have this little heart that I'm painting white. Then after that's dry, I'm taping off the corner, and I'm going to make this heart into a little flag. I'm using that same Bunker Hill blue to paint the corner. And then I'm going to use my Old Glory stencil that's in one of my patriotic sets. This is a set of 8 stencils that I have. And those little stars work perfectly for the corner of my heart. And then I'm going to use my grain sack stripes. I'm going to use that stencil to paint on my stripes, and I just lifted it up and moved it down as I went, and it worked out pretty good. So if you have these stencils, you can just create your own little flag this way. I just continued moving the stencil down and lining it up until I had the entire heart covered. Next, I'm going to make a little tag. I'm going to use another stencil in that same patriotic set, and I'm going to use 1776 on this one, just stenciling that on in black and crossing the bridges. Then I'm going to set those to the side and go back to my owl, and I am sanding around the edges of my owl. I'm going to clean that off, and I'm going to figure out where I want to put his eyes and glue those down. And I just painted those white, and then of course painted the centers of his eyes black. And then I'm going to add his little wooden nose, and I think he's turning out really sweet. So after I'm done with that, I'm going to take some white paint, and I'm using an embossing tool, and I'm going to just put some little dots on my owl, and I'm doing this in the shape of flowers, but also stars. I just did 5 at a time and just randomly placing those all over the owl. And I think that just gave him a little something extra, and he looks really sweet. So then I'm taking my dark sealing wax and going around the edge, and I'm also going to do that on my heart. Just distressing it a little bit, and I'm also going to do the same with my tag. I'm going to wrinkle up the tag to make it look older. The only thing I didn't end up distressing on this owl are those little dots. I thought those looked cute just the way they were. I did take a little bit of the wax and went around his eyes just for a little bit of shading. I had already drilled my holes for my hanger before I even started this project, and so I'm just putting my wire hanger in place, snipping it off, and then using the needle nose pliers to just curl down the ends of the wire. And I think that just gives it a little cute touch. Now I'm going to glue everything on, starting with the heart and then the tag. And then I have some sisal that I made in the shape of a bow. I glue that on and give it a haircut. And then I have a little bow that I made out of lace, and I'm grubbing up my bow with some of the dark sealing wax, and I'm going to trim that off so it doesn't cover the 1776. And I finished off with a button. So I picked a rather large blue button for the center. I think it turned out adorable. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for watching.